Well, for more on the impact of these flight cancellations and groundings, what it means for the aviation industry, joined by the Futurist at Tomorrow Today Global, Graeme Codrington. Graeme, good evening to you. For many, many years, the airline industry around the world has been transporting millions of people at any one time to really the four corners of the globe that we call the Earth. Now, suddenly, there are huge disruptions. No one seems to know what the future of the aviation industry is going to be.
Well, Stephen, that's exactly right. And I think the words that the CEO just used is confidence is the most important thing. Normally, we're booking our tickets well in advance, and we need to know that we will be able to use those tickets to get from place A to place B. The problem, of course, is that during COVID, a lot of these companies had to drastically reduce their staff. We understand that. There weren't that many people traveling. There weren't the flights flying, and they couldn't keep those overheads. But they haven't replaced those staff as quickly as they needed to. And that has seen chaotic scenes, not just with airlines, but at airports with baggage control, security, baggage handling. And I think we've seen these scenes across Europe, across the United States, even this last weekend with the half terms. There's also an issue that some people have discovered, which is that embassies have exactly the same problem. So if you need a visa that you are applying for, you might have thought that you just needed a few weeks' notice, whereas a lot of embassies are saying, no, they've got a backlog of months now. And all of that is flowing out of COVID. We might say that COVID is over, and lockdowns are past, but the disruption that that COVID and lockdown brought, especially to the airline industry, is staying with us, and it looks as if it's going to be with us for many months, maybe even years, Stephen.
You talk about confidence, such an important point, especially when it comes to international travel. I mean, at the moment, it just feels that the world is less predictable than it was in 2019. You have the pandemic, hard lockdowns in China, although they're coming out of them now, the monkeypox disease, which is, again, headlines. I don't know if we need to worry about it too much. You've got unbelievably high oil prices and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. All of these things are sort of connected to each other. But I don't know if people anywhere in the world feel confident about putting their families, their children on a long-haul flight just for a holiday.
Well, this is the thing, right? We've been saying for a while, this is what I do for a living. I've been talking about this for nearly 2 decades, that the 2020s was going to be a time of deep disruption. And now I think people are beginning to understand what that looks and feels like. It's not as if there's just a disruption that comes in, sort of turns your world on its head for a few weeks or a few months, and then it goes back to normal. Structural disruption is when there is no normal to go back to again. And I think in many industries we're seeing that this is the new reality. And I'm not sure that enough of those industries have got their heads around the strategic planning, the decision-making processes that need to be in place to bring back a level of confidence. Or maybe, Stephen, another way to put it is we've just got to get used to not having confidence in the system. That might be okay for, whether your kids are going to have extramural activities at school next week, or whether you can get something tomorrow, or maybe it's delayed to next week. That's different from, as you say, if you're putting a family on a plane and taking them across to the other side of the world, or you've got a big business meeting that you need to get to on Monday. Previously, you would have been comfortable flying in on Sunday night. Now maybe you have to get there 3 or 4 days early. And people are wanting, I think now, to change how they think about travel, especially how they think about scheduling of their travel, given that uncertainty is really part of the equation.
I've got to say, I don't know if the business travel market ever comes back. I mean, I hate a Zoom meeting as much as anyone, but I don't know if the business market ever comes back.
Well, I think there's an additional aspect here, Stephen, and that is the issue of climate change. More and more companies are becoming concerned about carbon footprints and their impact on the environment. And of course, reporting rules now require them to actually report on their environmental impact. And in the last few years, they've been able to get some quite good ratings out of not traveling as much as they used to. And if we add that consideration on top of the uncertainty and disruption, I agree with you. I think a lot of companies are rethinking which meetings are actually vital to have face-to-face, and hopefully we'll see some improvements in some of the virtual technologies that make these online meetings more bearable than they've been for the last 2 years.
Graeme Codrington from Today Tomorrow Global, thank you very much indeed.